Before we get the video going, I just want to let you know that right now, starting on the 12th and through the end of the year, I have a special sale going on exclusively on Smashword. Yeah, that's right, sale. How much is the sale? About 50% off. Yeah. So there you go. And the sale is on my books, the Glitch series that you can see right over there. Yeah. So if you want to read some scintillating stories from me, yeah, just go over to the Smashword website, look up Smashword sale, and enjoy yourself. And just to make sure you find my books, I'll leave links down below in the description. Okay? Right. Now let's get on with the video.
Take him. Go!
Caesar, this is not how it was to be.
In your view or mine?
Violence prolongs hate, hate prolongs violence. By what right are you spilling blood?
By the slave's right to punish his persecutors.
Caesar, I, a descendant of slaves, am asking you to show humanity.
But I was not born human.
I know. The child of the evolved apes.
Whose children shall rule the earth.
For better or for worse?
Do you think it could be worse?
Do you think this riot will win freedom for all your kind? By tomorrow...
By tomorrow it will be too late. Why, a tiny, mindless insect like the Emperor Moth can communicate with another over a distance of 80 miles.
An Emperor ape might do slightly better?
Slightly? What you have seen here today, apes on the 5 continents will be imitating tomorrow.
With knives against guns, with kerosene cans against flamethrowers.
Where there is fire, there is smoke. And in that smoke, from this day forward, my people will crouch and conspire and plot and plan for the inevitable day of man's downfall, the day when he finally and self-destructively turns his weapons against his own kind, the day of the writing in the sky, when your cities lie buried under radioactive rubble, when the sea is a dead sea and the land is a wasteland, out of which I will lead my people from their captivity, and we shall build our own cities in which there will be no place for humans except to serve our ends. And we shall found our own armies, our own religion, our own dynasty, and that day is upon you now!
Hello again. Essay here. Anyone who pay attention to Middle East politics probably knows that since for a very long time that place has been an absolute mess. whether it be from the Arab-Israeli wars, the intifada against the Israelis during the 90s and early 2000s, and of course all the damn mess happening between, whether it be the Iranian Revolution, the Iran-Iraq War, the first Gulf War, the Iraq invasion, the Arab Spring, knows that those people can't seem to get their act together. Seems like they're jumping from the frying pan into the soup. Well, if you've been paying attention to what's been happening in Syria within the last week, let's just say this. It's like being on a damn merry-go-round with no safety belt, and the damn merry-go-round is going at about 400 or 500 miles an hour. Now, you're hanging on for dear life, wondering what's going to happen next. And of course, for me personally, well, I don't know any Syrians, but I was very, let's just say, keeping my ear to the wall when the Syrian Civil War broke out. And there was a lot of people saying that that civil war wasn't legit. Nope. It was basically a color revolution cooked up by the security services of the various Western powers. America, United States, France, Israel. Yeah. That's not to say that the leadership in Damascus was all, angels. Nope. Definitely not. But the thing is, you gotta remember, Syria was never a Jeffersonian democracy. Nope. Because if you go back in time, originally it was part of various people's empires. Whether it be, if I remember correctly, yeah, it was part of the original caliphate from, like, oh my god, 8th or 9th century. And then it later became part of the damn Ottoman Turkish Empire. And then, of course, it was absorbed by the French. And then it got its independence only in the middle of the 20th century. And almost immediately, it morphed into a dictatorship run by the Arab Ba'ath Party. So yeah, these people never been a pluralistic Western-style democracy, not even halfway. And yet, when the damn Civil War broke out, you had all these people, Western commentators, was talking about, oh, moderate rebel this and moderate rebel that, when that just wasn't true. Because the original CIA cutout for the rebels was the so-called Free Syrian Army. But the thing is, those guys got chewed up and spit out when the damn jihadis showed up. You know, like ISIS and al-Sham, aka Al-Qaeda in Syria. Yeah. Well, anyway, Paul Joseph Watson has a very interesting take on the events that recently happened in Syria that you have to see for yourself. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Massive celebrations amongst Syrians in Western cities as Bashar al-Assad was finally overthrown. In Manchester, in London, in Vienna, in Dortmund, and in Chicago.
The celebration that took place here in Commerce Plaza today can only be described as an outpouring of pent-up emotion.
So, I guess they're all going back home now, right? You know, to help rebuild their country.
We've reclaimed Damascus, Damascus being the capital of Syria. Yes, yeah, so the entire country is free. So is it free now? We are free now. So, finally.
So now does that mean that all you go back to Syria now?
The economic situation isn't correct.
Okay.
Wait, what did he say?
So does that mean that all you go back to Syria now?
The economic situation isn't correct.
Okay.
Oh, probably not going back home then. Free Syria, Assad is a dog. My family had to flee Assad. Okay, Assad's out, back to Syria you go. No, this is unfair, no, don't send me back to Syria, my life is ruined. I'm not a Syrian refugee anymore, I'm Syrian, just Syrian. Cool, when are you leaving? So with Assad gone, who exactly is taking over Syria? Because the legacy media seems really excited over it. And since when have they been wrong in the past? It's basically Al-Qaeda in suits. Call it technocratic jihad, led by this man, Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani. No, my mistake, as of last week he's calling himself Ahmed al-Sharaa. It's all part of a bold rebrand, which according to the BBC is partly centred around al-Sharaa reinventing himself by wearing a more Western-style wardrobe. Yes, he may have been a member of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. He may have been groomed and mentored by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the former leader of ISIS. He may have formed the Al-Nusra Front, an offshoot of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. He may have pledged allegiance to Al-Qaeda. He may have sworn an oath to Osama bin Laden. He may have been radicalised to follow jihad by 9/11. He may have planted roadside IEDs in Iraq to kill US troops. He may be the head of a group, HTS, which is designated by the UN, US, UK and other countries as a terrorist organisation, with the US placing a $10 million bounty on his head. But hey, last week he declared diversity is a strength, and he started saying nice things while ditching the scary camo fatigues. So, you know, people can change, I guess. According to CNN, the transition from radical jihadist to peace-loving revolutionary can be achieved by just shaving your beard a bit and putting on a blazer. Or as the BBC describes it, moderate jihad.
الولايات المتحدة وغيرها تقول أنت كنت جزء من منظمات عملت هذا الشيء، قتل المدنيين والتهجير وغيرها.
أنا لم أفعل هذا الشيء يعني، فكان نصيبي أن أساق إلى مكان معين يعني مع حالة الوعي وصغر السن في ذاك الوقت وكذا.
I mean, who can honestly say that when they were young and stupid, they weren't a member of a jihadist group that killed civilians? We've all been there. Remember, all these freedom fighters in Syria want to fly planes into our buildings. Now those freedom fighters, some of whom are statistically certain to be terrorists, are being freed from prison en masse and told to go where they please.
معك كبروا يلا
What could possibly go wrong? Should we really be that bothered about the fact that supporters of groups whose militants have repeatedly slipped through Western borders to carry out mass casualty atrocities now have access to, checks notes, vast stockpiles of munitions, including chemical weapons, armoured fighting vehicles, combat planes and missiles? Should that really concern us? After all, he did shave his beard a bit, and the UK government, after the rebels toppled Assad, suddenly declared that they're no longer terrorists anyway. It's moderate jihad. So I guess that now Syria is free and under the control of diversity-loving jihadist rebels, there's no need for any more Western military involvement. Right?
U.S. forces conducted dozens of precision strikes.
Those strikes hitting more than 75 ISIS targets, including camps, leaders, and operatives. The White House hoping to prevent a resurgence by the terror group in the region.
Oh. So it's fantastic that a group affiliated with ISIS took over the country, but now we're bombing ISIS to prevent ISIS from taking over the country. Alright, that makes sense. And now Lindsey Graham says a ground incursion by US troops is imperative. Oh, still at least we've got fairly recent historical examples to assure us that when Middle Eastern dictators fall, everything normally turns out to be just peachy, like in Iraq and Libya. Oh. Now, despite legacy media assurances of a smooth transition, different rebel factions are already fighting with each other, while in Western cities they're squabbling on the streets. For every scene the media highlights of a few hundred people celebrating in a central square, there are many more thousands of families huddled and fearful in their homes, not knowing what entity or Islamist faction controls the checkpoint around the block. And as for Syria's 30,000 Christians who remain in the country,
in this village in Syria, they still speak the same language of Jesus Christ from biblical times. I'm here in Malula, where they speak Aramaic, and linguists believe this town is most similar to the original language due to its isolation in the Syrian mountains. This is what it sounds like. Roughly 10% of Syrians are Christians, and Syria was actually a Christian majority before being conquered by Muslim Arabs.
Well, they should be just fine. After all, it's only Sharia light. It's only moderate jihad.
Okay, you saw that video, right? Now I have to admit, old Watson, he can be frivolous. I'll be the first one to tell you. I'll be the first one to admit that. But it doesn't make him wrong. And indeed, when you saw all those damn rebel flags that were flying in various parts of Western countries, yeah. So you know who those people are rooting for, and definitely weren't rooting for the former government of Bashar al-Assad. And yet, anyone who has paid attention to the politics of the Middle East knows that when these jihadis shows up, it's never, ever good. Doesn't matter if you're talking about the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, or Al-Qaeda in Iraq, or the damn radical Sunnis in Libya, and now, of course, the damn al-Sham in Syria. And, of course, you can't forget ISIS. Nope, can't forget those knuckleheads. But anyway, these people are Neolithic, narrow-minded, and clearly propelled by religious fervor. And of course, as you saw in Watson's video, these people are not known for sharing power with anybody. Once these people usually take power in a country, they hang on to it through a barrel of a gun. And if you get basically, yakety yak, don't talk back to these people, you're going to get a 7.62 bullet in the back of your head. Therefore, you have to wonder, why is anyone rooting for these guys? Huh? Seriously. Because you probably can know what's going to happen next. These damn Sunni Wahhabis, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to round up all the non-Sunnis and kill them. And now some of you are saying, oh, you're full of beans. Am I? I mean, you saw how ISIS conducted its affairs. Yeah, anyone who wasn't a crazy Sunni radical ended up with their head separated from their body. And therefore, what makes you think al-Sham is no different? They basically, what's the cliche? They sing from the same hymn book as ISIS. Only difference is ISIS is a little bit more brutal. And I think there's a few people, who are beginning to realize, hold on, wait a minute, should we be rooting for these people? And I'm thinking, if you have more than 2 brain cells in your head that works, I'm thinking, no. But then again, that's always been the problem with recent Middle East politics. You have these people from the outside, these Western powers, they show up in the Middle East. They tried to, change it in their image, and then it turns into a total screw up. Remember the Iraq War? Remember the stupid propaganda saying, oh, the Iraqis will embrace us as liberators? Yeah, how long did that last? A week? Yeah. Before you started having IEDs attacking our soldiers all over Baghdad. And of course, if you remember, the damn Sunnis and the Shias got into it in spades. And then, of course, the Americans, they didn't help themselves by basically, choosing sides. Deciding that the damn people who were with the Baathists were the bad guys, and they needed to be marginalized and pushed to the side, forgetting the fact that these people were the only ones who knew how to run Iraq. Yeah, precisely. And now it looks like it's happening again. Because look what happened in Libya. These people, they overthrew Gaddafi, and the place has been a shithole ever since. Now, of course, some of you are saying there was a shithole under Gaddafi. Yeah, but at least Gaddafi, despite his picadillicos, he was more or less a rational leader with a functioning government. I mean, what's going on in Libya right now, there's no government there. And it's basically almost like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Everyone's basically, running around looking for the shit. And of course, naturally, it looks like it's about to happen again in Syria. Because as you saw in Watson's video, that so-called rebel coalition is already falling apart. Indeed, it reminds me of that book, The Man in the High Castle. Because if you remember in the book, the Germans and the Japanese were allies against the United States, but then after America was defeated in the book, the Germans and the Japanese started looking at each other, cross-eyed. Yeah. And al-Sham, it's made up of various radical factions, and now that the dreaded Assad has been, kicked out of his own country, now just like in The Man in the High Castle, all these damn rebel factions are looking at each other sideways. And of course, if you remember what happened in damn Afghanistan after the Mujahideen got rid of Najibullah, yeah. And you say, who the hell is that? Yeah, he was the last Soviet-installed leader of Afghanistan who got overthrown in the early 1990s. In fact, they actually hung the guy right outside the presidential palace in Kabul. Yeah, sort of like what happened to Mussolini. But anyway, and what happened? Those damn Mujahideen turned their guns on each other, and before you could say Jack Robinson, they totally blew that country, this kingdom come. Now, of course, some of you are saying, well, Syria's already blown the kingdom come. Yeah, well, all these people are going to do is they're going to make the dust bounce. Because let's not pretend Syria, even before the Civil War, was awash in weapons. Tanks, artillery, RPGs, and more Kalashnikovs than fleas on a dog's back, and more ammunition than you can count. And if these knuckleheads who hijacked Syria go into total Mujahideen mode, believe me, nobody will be a winner. Everybody will lose. Now, right now, the damn mainstream media is sitting there saying, ha ha, at the Iranians and the damn Ruskies because they clearly bet on the wrong horse. However, as you saw in Watson's video, what do you think is going to happen when these damn jihadis going to start shooting at each other? And the poor, pitiful Syrians who basically just want to be left alone get caught in the crossfire. Yeah. Can you spell migrant caravans? Yeah, except these caravans won't be coming up through Mexico. They'll be coming up through Turkey and heading towards a European city near you. And of course, if you've been paying attention, Trump has already said more than once on his Truth Social that as soon as he becomes president, he's going to pull the American army out of there. And I'm thinking, good. You shouldn't have been there in the first place. But then, of course, the problem is, yeah, the Americans are not going to be there. The Iranians definitely ain't going to be. They got kicked out. I think the Russians, despite what Tim Pool claimed, they are still sitting on the 2 military bases they have, but they probably can't hang on to those things forever. And the whole damn place, from the damn the Sea of Galilee all the way up to the Turkish border, is going to turn into a Wild West show. Instead of these people be shooting blanks, they'll be shooting real bullets. So yeah, the people who basically plan this whole damn let's overthrow Assad game, yeah, these people who brought you the Iraq invasion and the overthrow of Gaddafi have brought you a brand new TV show. And no, it's not Squid Game Part 2. You call it Stupid Game Part 3. Or as that guy, Korea, you don't know him, once said, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And these people, these neocons, these globalists, who basically were playing games in the Middle East, well, they've been playing for quite a while, and all they've been doing is winning stupid prizes. But now they have a new prize. It's called Syria, except it's not a functioning country, it's a failed state. Just like Somalia, which from the last time I checked has been a failed state since the 1990s. And it's still going strong. Yep. Reminds me of that old nursery rhyme about Humpty Dumpty. Yep. Except you can scratch out the word Humpty Dumpty and replace it with Syria, and it basically sounds like that old nursery rhyme where all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Syria back together again. Except this ain't a fairy tale. This is real life. And while some of these TV commentators might be slapping and glad-handing each other right now, it ain't gonna last. They just created another disaster in the Middle East. Or I should say, another shit sandwich in the Middle East. And everyone, whether people were involved or not, is going to have to take a big fat bite out of this damn thing. And swallow. Well, that's all I gotta say about this mess in Syria, which is just getting worse by the nanosecond. And that's my opinion.